back, everybody. Richard Schaefer with United Financial, and I'm really very excited to introduce somebody that's become a very new fast friend of mine. I would say, actually, one of the more astute clients I think that I've talked to in a while, and very responsible, and I think coming to us from New York, right, Nicole? Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
So Nicole Hamilton, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. Maybe you could share a little bit about yourself and kind of your background and what it was that caused you to have an interest in even seeking out a solution like the MMA, and what your feedback has been.
So I'm 38 years old. I have a husband and a couple kids,
How old are your
and
kids?
3 and 13.
Oh, that's a gap.
The 13-year-old is my stepson,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's a good gap. They're wonderful
That's
together.
good.
But so I have always been a very financially smart kind of gal. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
And so we obviously got a new house together, so a little bit interested in saving money for the kids.
hmm Of all the things you could say, now you're a great example, and we got to get to know each other a little bit better. And ultimately, one of the things that stood out to me is, sometimes you'd think that those that are in the worst financial shape are the ones that recognize the most need for help. And sometimes that is true, right?
But
But more
I
often than not, what I notice is that we're able to provide a solution for people that are genuinely looking to make even better decisions, because every little shift, every little tweak, almost like diet and exercise, right? Most of us can probably do sit-ups and push-ups and run around the block, and we don't need to go to a gym for that. But we're trying to go to another level. We're trying to reach another plateau. We usually need more help, more tools, more assistance and support. And I think that's one of the things that stood out to me when we first talked, is that you were already doing a number of really pretty good, responsible things, even beyond being a spreadsheet lover, which I think is fantastic, and also being a good budgeter. But you were doing a couple of other things that actually helped you to pay off a previous home. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that for a minute.
Okay, so I bought my first house when I was 27, and
Nice.
I did all the things that I thought you're supposed to do: pay biweekly, make extra payments or
Mhm.
extra on the principal each, biweekly payment. Paid that off in like 10 years. That was great. And then when my husband
Incredible.
and I got the next house, you're starting all over, and that house was 3 times more with awful insurance or interest rates.
Yep.
And so I wasn't really sure that the program would help, because I like my spreadsheets and I like to do all of the planning and pay things off efficiently, and I don't like to pay
Sure.
interest.
Sure.
And I had my first meeting. They took my numbers, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And then they came back and they were like, oh, you could be debt free 100% in 8.5 years.
So
How?
now, be honest. What was your very first? I mean, besides being amazing, what was your first real honest, as a deliberative person? What was your first response to
Holy shit.
that?
Like my mortgage, it's 3 years old. I have 27 years. Even if I did my thing and I could do it in 15, I
Right.
thought that was good.
It would
Eight
be.
and a half, and that's all my credit cards. That's my car. That's everything. Everything. So that
And you
definitely,
didn't find yourself saying, "Come on, this has got to be too good to be true." How is that possible?
I don't know all of the ways that they calculate interest, and to actually have somebody sit there and explain to you, yeah, like your mortgage rate and your interest rate, it sounds like 3 point whatever percent. You end up paying 50% more for this house.
Or
Like,
60 or 70 or 80? Yeah.
right, right. So for it to know all of this information and be able to utilize it to my benefit
Mm.
was amazing to me.
That's awesome. I so love to hear that. I know, if I was being honest, it's almost easy for me at this stage, after many, many years, to be a little bit almost cavalier and immune to that, because I've heard it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And it does help to reinforce our conviction. But I'm like, oh yeah, another amazing story. Wow, no
Right.
shocker there. But when I'm involved more in the appointments, which I don't have the luxury of doing as much as I once did, unfortunately, but I love that, because that's the finger on the pulse of exactly the impact that sometimes we forget it really has. And so at this age of your life, you're obviously still in your 30s. What kind of opportunities open up to you? Also, having a 3 and a 13-year-old, knowing what's coming as far as graduations and cars and weddings, what does that open up to you?
It just opens my eyes that I feel like we'll be able to do what we want to do or need to do for both of them. It won't be like, oh my God, my kid needs a car and we can barely afford gas. No, we can not only afford gas, we can afford to financially help the kids as well, which I think is wonderful. They will also get taught to be financially responsible. Don't get that wrong,
That's what I love to hear.
but they won't have to struggle either.
Yeah, I love that too, because I think sometimes one of the curse and the blessings of working hard and knowing a good bit about money and having some success, obviously, is that, my daughter's always like, I don't have to worry about that, Daddy. You're going to figure it out, or you're going to pay for that. I'm like, no, 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 wrong
We'll
answer.
teach you. I'm not going to teach you forever.
Wrong answer for sure. Well, I think that is all fantastic. So a couple of things. I know that your time is limited, and we certainly appreciate you being so gracious. But these are the things that matter so much because I've had the luxury of doing a lot of podcasts and radio shows and so forth, which is incredible. I love doing it. But at the end of the day, people can hear that and think, oh, well, he's a spokesperson, a representative or an officer of the company. He's supposed to say that. But when you get real boots on the ground, live human feedback, which, we have over 100,000 clients. So, we have quite a few of these, but it really is powerful to hear it. And in kind of a parting comment, what does that feel like emotionally to know that you could literally be totally and completely debt free at this stage in your mid 40s?
It feels amazing. You always see other people that are like, oh, well, they have like a second home or they have whatever, they can go on vacation. In my 40s, to have everything paid off and be like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I think it's probably, a little bit of tongue in cheek, but it's not coincidental that our company is called United Financial Freedom, because one of the things that we stand strongly against, or I suppose on behalf of the consumer, is that, the system does sometimes feel a little bit rigged against the average consumer, financially speaking. And we can't count on the government to save us. Obviously, they can't even get out of debt themselves. In fact, it only gets worse.
Can they buy the program?
I know, believe me, I think about it all the time. I'm like, maybe they need to use the system. But we know one thing's for sure is that's why one of our credos really, truly is to help to sort of buy back America and the average American family one family at a time.
Oh no, like I'll tell people about this. They're gonna love this. And then I don't know. I just expected like me to be explaining it and them to be like, yes, tell me more. And as soon as they didn't, I'm like, okay, well, I do have
Let me tell you something interesting about that story. I a couple of years back, true story. I'll kind of leave it on this, but my daughter and I were going to Disney, and I had an extra ticket somebody couldn't show. Long story, and it took me 20 minutes to give away a free ticket. You wonder why? Because people think, well, wait a minute, there must be a scam, and I understand why people feel that way. There's a lot of scammers. So I literally was giving it away for free. Like I wasn't even asking money for it. It took me 20 minutes to give away a free ticket. I kid you not. And I thought, this is where we are. And I think that's the number one thing. It is true when things sound too good to be true. Honestly, they generally are, but not everything. And there are things that we say often is it's good, it's true, and we can prove it. That's why we guarantee it, because it's math and it's not, magic, right? And I think numbers are honestly about, people can manipulate statistics, but numbers themselves do not lie. I think it's why some of us have an affinity for them, because 1 + 1 is always going to be 2, 2 + 2 is always going to be 4. And so I so appreciate that. I love getting to know our clients better, knowing that you guys have been married how long?
It'll be our 5th year in November.
Okay, 5 years. You got a 3-year-old. You guys have a teenager that you raised together, and a new home and investment property. This is the kind of stuff that low key kind of warms my heart, because I just love to hear that people are actually getting the success. So any parting words that maybe you could offer for those that either are just now looking at our program or considering the possibility of it, anything you could share with them on a personal level that you think would give encouragement to them to move forward?
I think that have the meetings. There's no commitment.
That's right.
See what it can do for you. And then think about it. If you really don't like saving money, you don't have to. If you do, and they can actually make it worth your while, which 100% they can, because math is math.
Right. That's right.
Then it's worth it. You think of all the things you throw money away on. I'm an Amazon shopper. I have packages.
It's discovered. I knew there had to be some weak link in the chain there.
Every day, my husband makes fun of me. Before we moved into the house, I was getting packages delivered there.
Remember what I said about the true cost calculator, Nicole? You're going to start hitting that the next time, and you might see that little extra bucket of spend everywhere
I know. Well, I am that person that it's like, oh, it was only $5. And then $5 times a million times, I could be a millionaire.
So I'll mention one thing about that. We refer to as microdollars. One of the most powerful things the system helps people start recognizing is that small, otherwise seemingly insignificant amounts of money, 5, 10, $20, when we look at it aggregately, the system might say you've got an extra, I'm making this up, $1,500 a month in spend everywhere kind of stuff, right? It's only
Right.
$30 a day. Imagine if the average person had just $10 a day that they were just blowing somewhere.
Right.
Probably true, right? Whether it's Starbucks, which should be
100%.
called $6, actually, I think, or something on Amazon. That little bit, if you played with that calculator, it would say you just eliminate another 1.3 years on your debt and saved another $9,000 in interest. Is it worth saving $5 or $10 a day?
Yeah,
That's the big part where it really changes. So I'm so excited for that, and I think that you extended something that we often do. That's why we do free informational webinars, just to give people more
absolutely.
information. It's not one-on-one, it's general, it's a group setting. And then we do a no obligation savings report analysis. And as you stated, honestly, people have nothing to lose but years and hopefully tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Nicole. I'm so happy for you and your family. I'm proud to know you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your success and keeping on track 3 months from now, 6 months from now. I have a
Yeah.
feeling you're going to probably increase your results, another 5 or 10%, because our average client out of the nearly 100,000 clients we've had over the years is about 14 to 16% ahead after the first year, because they start realizing that the connection between those seemingly insignificant dollars and how they can more responsibly allocate them. And when we have a big enough incentive, it's amazing how we begin to make shifts in our lives.
True.
So thank you so very, very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You got to promise to keep in touch so I can hear about your progress.
I absolutely will.
Thank you.